to try and normalize the situation in terms of the proposed policy options and measures that they are taking to try and deal with the situation? Well, a few days ago, the government announced some measures to try and cushion consumers when it comes to prices of petroleum products. But are they enough to try and normalize things, or things again could get bad for us? What about Ghana's energy security situation and how this development in the global market could get it bad to where the IMF and the World Bank are warning? Well, to engage someone who actually appreciates the issues, play in the space as we analyze Ghana's energy security situation and how the rising prices of crude oil could actually worsen things for us. He's the Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, Mr. Ben Boakye. And this is PM Express, and we are coming to you live from the IMF Headquarters 2 building in Washington, D.C., where the annual IMF World Bank meetings is taking place. Mr. Ben Boakye, the Executive Director at the ESTEPEN, thank you so much for, again, granting us audience here at the IMF building. Let me first get your thought on the global oil dynamics and what has triggered that.
No, I'm not sure anybody expected this to happen. Nobody predicts the unfortunate situations, as we do have them once in a while. But if you track the trends, you will note that every medium term, something will happen. Whether there's a bigger global event occasioned by geopolitical wars, or some market situation would arise which impacts international oil price adversely. So if you are a market watcher, you are sure that 3-4 years you're going to see some events, the market movement will happen. But when it is occasioned by some of these major wars, then it could drag a bit longer. And that perhaps is the fear that people really have at this point. How do we manage the situation so that the international oil price will normalize in the shortest possible time to reduce the impact of the price hike on consumers and on economies, particularly countries that are actually recovering from COVID and Russia and Ukraine war. You don't want to experience this setback, which can really derail those economies. And how predictable can we get to make sure that in the next 2-3 months we're out of the woods, bring the price down maybe around 70, 75, which, people should be able to cope whilst we push to get it even lower. We are not in a room where the war negotiations are happening, so that makes it difficult for you to predict, but we should be expecting these things once in a while. And that's where energy security is becoming a big topic, a big issue for countries to now process. How do you secure your energy needs? And we're seeing that shift quite aggressively in many contexts. If you look at China and the developments in China at this point, a lot of renewable uptake happening, big investments in nuclear energy, big investment in electrification, that is electric mobility, and that helps insulate you from these kind of unexpected oil market conditions. So countries have got to prepare and think through those same lines to see how we can insulate ourselves to a great extent from these shocks.
If you monitor all the reports, it looks like things are not going to normalize anytime soon, even with the crude oil prices. Do you share in that same thought, or from your perspective of the Center of Energy Policy, you're quite optimistic that things could normalize soon?
Normalization always will happen at two levels, on the international market price and also the pass-through effect. Even when prices come down from $100 per barrel to say 50, 60, you're not going to have goods and services reduced or the impact reversed almost immediately, because people always want to make a margin. They want to watch their space to see whether they can even keep the same prices. The pass-through effect is always slow. So that pass-through effect on the average consumer will drag for a longer period of time. But we're hoping that the market situation will normalize, stabilize as soon as possible, and that creates a signal for us to look at the pass-through effect and see how we can reverse some of those impacts in the medium term. And that would take 4, 5, 6 months in some situations for that normalization to happen. Even the freight charges and the rest of it, they're not going to drop overnight from the 6,000, 7,000 that we are seeing now to their 2,000s. It will take a while for the ship owners to also process it and think through it. It will take time for the insurance companies to reverse their premiums and the rest of it. So normalizing is going to take a while across the board, but hopefully we're able to deal with the market condition in the next 2-3 months.
The World Bank has warned that, and in their recent economic update is warning that, let's look at the first one, that even if the Strait of Hormuz should be open today, it will take a while for global commodity prices.
Beyond the impact on people, others also want to make big money. The industry players and the rest also want to make money. And they are always slow in reacting to the shifts that should happen. So you may have the market dictating the price, in the short to medium term, reducing it if we were lucky. But those who are supposed to cascade it, translate that into the lives of people, may not do it immediately. Goods and services are high. People are going to struggle. In our context, poverty will deepen because the cost of moving from one point to the other is going to increase. The cost of food is going to increase. And particularly in Africa, where we are more or less entering into rainy season, the rain-fed agriculture, people are going to plant their crops. If cost of fertilizer is high and is impacted, they are not able to crop on time and also use the required fertilizers. That has implication on cost of food, which cannot be raised even if you bring down the cost of petrol the next morning, right? So we will live with the impact for some time to come, and therefore countries need to prepare. People need to prepare how they survive within that medium-term, impact. To be sure that we all survive.
The bank in the report warned about job losses, food security issue, spike in fertilizer, and they established that in the report.
Yeah, certainly. Businesses are not charity organizations. When they see their bottom line impacted, they will react, and some of the reaction will be to cut back on employment, reduce expenditure, tax revenue will be impacted. So government somehow will also be impacted. Unfortunately, people will lose their jobs. Food security is a major concern, as I indicated. Energy is a big input into agriculture, for plowing, for harvesting, for transportation. All of that has to do with energy. And if the cost of energy is high, that has implication on food production. Fertilizer in particular, if it's too expensive, farmers may not be prepared to invest more into fertilizer, expensive fertilizer, and that could also impact on yield ultimately. So those are expected outcomes of these situations. But we're hoping that countries that have buffers and reserves will be able to release some food, to cushion particularly the vulnerables in our vulnerable communities in Africa, to bring down the cost of food.
It might not be a good idea to rush to suspend some of these taxes because of the ring fencing and the fact that they are currently servicing some debt. So touching it could have some serious implications for the broader economy.
We need to fix the bigger problem of using petroleum tax to be paying for debt and addressing electricity problems. Electricity is a commodity. Once consumed, revenue must be raised to pay for cost of gas, cost of generating, transmission, and distribution, right? So that we are not taxing in other avenues to be able to address shortfalls in the energy sector. If we're able to deal with that problem, that creates a flexibility for us to be reactive to some of these global trends as and when they come. But now it's very difficult for governments to do that. So what we have proposed is really look at the inefficiencies in the downstream sector, and then cut back on those inefficiencies and pass on the benefits to the consumer. And we've been talking about these inefficiencies for years, but because they benefit the political system, nobody wants to touch them.
If I look through the 2026 budget, government projected as a $76 a barrel when it comes to crude export. You play in this space, so maybe educate me. Government can use that windfall to cushion consumers. What do you say about that?
Yeah, but you check the trend. So it's not one variable. There are many variables at play here. If you look at government projections year on year for the past 5 years or so, almost 7 years since 2019, oil production has declined from 71 million barrels a year to now almost 31, and it's going to keep declining. So you will see that all the projections year on year has also failed over the period. We have not been able to predict accurately what the production volumes will look like. So when there's a surge in price, that rather helps to normalize the projection for upstream oil production, rather than creating the windfall as you will say. But of course, there will be some revenue, but the balance in that space is quite marginal, because you're consuming almost 100,000 barrels a day in Ghana, and your production is less than half of that at this point. It's difficult for you to do the balancing act from that perspective. So it means that the windfall you're getting is way smaller than what you have to consume in the economy. But of course, that is for the managers of the economy to calibrate and see how much that could also create a fiscal space to address some of these windfall. But also in law, there are ways of dealing with the windfall. The law creates what to do with the windfall. It projects that you put some of the money for the next generation. It projects that you also put some of the money to be able to smooth in, create more buffers, so that some of these unanticipated, if the price slump significantly in another year, you need money to be able to smooth in your budget. So the cyclicality of the industry helps us to also think what happens in the downtime. So also created in the law for us to put money aside to be able to smooth in the budget.
If these margins do up to 1 Ghana cedi, do you think that is enough looking at the current situation, or government should be doing more?
It will be a big relief. Do you know the companies? There are some companies that pay 1 million cedis on fuel a month. So if prices have adjusted by almost 100%, that means that the cost of fuel has moved to 2 million a month. So if you take 1 cedi out of that, that is a lot of money for them. If you fill your tank with 1,000 cedis, right, and suddenly 1 cedi per liter has gone off that could be over 100 cedis for every fill. You will see it as small margin on a liter, but cumulatively for filling your tank, for the business that is running, it's quite a huge number to play with. So even 5 pesos is a lot of money in this hard times.
And suspension for up to 4 weeks. Do you think that it is enough? Because we are just hoping against hope that things will normalize. Do you think that it's enough? Or
suspension is not a critical thinking at this point. It's an energy security situation. How do we address these impact problems in the long term? We got a plan to have rail lines that moves from Accra to the north to the Sahel regions, make transportation easy for people, reduce fuel consumption at the individual level, so that you can intervene when it's critical. So this is the time for us to think long term. ECG's inefficiency, and we are laughing about it, we are smiling about it. I've granted millions of interviews with you on ECG, and we seem not to have a solution as a country, as a people, with all the degrees that we have in Ghana. We can't. And for more than 10 years, trying to address one problem, and it keeps going up and up. It tells us that we are not serious people. So it is time for us to show that we are serious people, we can fix problems, and let's fix that problem and begin to address the long-term energy security issues, so that we are not going to come back when somebody wants to fight another country and then we don't know what to do the next day. Let's fix problems. Let's learn from this and be more long-term in our approach. Let's cream all the margins that are wasteful, use them to plan development. I'll tell you what, do you know how much goes to Boss a year? 600 million on top of their commercial trading. 600 million cedis a year for Boss margin. Ask yourself, if we use that money to build rail lines, it won't take us 10 years for us to do that.
This is PM Express Business Edition, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. on the sidelines of the spring meetings in U.S. here, engaging the Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, looking at Ghana's energy security situation, the rising prices of crude oil on the international market, and what should be the policy response. We'll be right back after this break.
Another week is here on the greatest of all time show. My name is Giovanni Clip, and tonight we're bringing you talent. Contestant number 1, let's bring Baby Car. Let's bring. He did it for you.
Cut. Oh, there is a leakage.
Where's the plumber? For quality and durability, insist on Syntex pipes.
If you want quality, this be where you belong.
Strong, tough, and reliable. Your perfect match to your trusted Syntex pipe. Syntex pipe, it they carry water, no wahala. Syntex pipe, it they make water they flow. Syntex, and you're strong, and you're tough.
In Ghana, our gold is more than a resource. It's our pride. And at Gold Ball Jewelry, we celebrate that pride every day with craftsmanship that reflects who we are as Ghanaians. Introducing the Gold Ball Jewelry Gold Tablet. Pure, certified, proudly Ghanaian gold. The best part, when you buy a Gold Ball Jewelry tablet, you own it. You keep your gold with you, not with us. It's more than a jewelry. It's a smart investment for every Ghanaian who wants to secure their future. Gold Ball Jewelry Gold Tablet. Own your gold. Own your future.
Can tee up someone in red. It goes to one.
Do not say!
That's who goal is for.
What's
After 5 Champions League, you want to know? I be the real goat.
Who is the goat? Ghana Jollof or Nigeria Jollof?
Ghana Jollof has no co-equal. The smell alone. Oh my God.
Brother Shift, you two they lie, eh? Now the same stew when they use cook the rice and then they go put them for top.
Hey. You are lying. Ghana Jollof.
Are you busy? Forget everybody. Yeah.
My guy,
Put some respect on the goat.
on the goat, the only goat I know lives in Tama.
Every year we dey give to you back to back.
We are talking about PET. I want some Yadji face.
Except be the goat, huh?
My guy, him be the goat.
Though our choice of goats may differ in football, music, and jollof, Alomo Bitters always brings us together. Alomo, experience greatness in every moment.
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18 and recommended to pregnant women. This advert is FDA approved.
Back to PM Express Business Edition, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. on the sidelines of the spring meetings, bringing together that is the IMF and the World Bank to look at the current global issues. And one of the issues that is topping the agenda in all those bilateral meetings is the current Middle East crisis and its impact on energy prices and how or what should be the response of economies around the world to this crisis. I mean, the World Bank or IMF is warning that it could get from bad to worse if they should drag because of the prices on the international market. And indeed, there's no other best person to engage on these developments than the Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, Mr. Ben Boat. You heard him about the oil issue. Let's dovetail in the power sector. And from that independent eye, are things normalizing for you? Or it is
I think we are
life support.
We have a finance minister who is paying the bill with your taxes. The one cedi that was imposed, the energy sector margins that were in the past not used to pay for the debt and the sustenance of the power sector. That is what we are doing at this point. But it's still ridiculous for us to keep doing what we are doing, paying 70 million plus for gas, paying for other under-recoveries in the energy sector. These are avoidable interventions. Can you imagine $70 million committed to rail infrastructure in Ghana? Every private sector would want to be part of that, all right? You can easily get a facility to be able to build all the rail lines if you committed $70 million a month of stream to the banks. You said every month I'm bringing you $70 million, give me a loan to build rail lines. Everybody will give you. But we are using that money to pay for power that people have consumed and they are refusing to pay or they are stealing the power. And we need to act and fix that problem so that we can redirect some of these revenue streams to development of the country, to be able to address access to electricity, poverty issues, food security issues, infrastructure deficits that we have in our country. We need resources to be able to address them. If we are spending our money so inefficiently, it doesn't matter whether the finance minister has been responsible in paying the debt or not. It's a useless expenditure. And we need to move away from it. We need to fix the power sector so that power consumed will translate into money to be able to pay for gas, pay for transmission, generation, and all the entire value chain, rather than what we've been trying to do over the years.
We are still paying toward it.
It's unbelievable.
Is it that the managers of the economy, and not just this government and previous government, benefit? There are some who say that this wise saying that there are people who benefit from chaos. Are these people not having a sunset clause for some of these levies, taxes, that you could see that it is on and on and on and on? We are still paying for debt. Why are we still paying for debt?
We are still paying for every debt. You impose a levy to address a particular problem and you don't use the money to do it. Toll debt has been there. We keep paying. In most cases, debt accumulation is also a problem. They keep generating more debt. The optics has become the order of the day. When the plant is not working, they say it's working. They want the media to come and sit there and be able to track whether the refinery is refining or not refining. These are not credible approach of governance, right? When we say we have a toll debt, we want to deal with it, we need to specify how long it will take to deal with it.
Do you think that think tanks, CSOs like yours, we should quickly move to ensure that the same doesn't become of this one city doomsday lobby? Because when there's isn't a new administration, I mean, who doesn't like free money? I mean, they do everything to keep some of these taxes and levies.
But you see, the one city levy, we are paying for power that has been consumed. That's the sad part. That's not even addressing debt. It's addressing a recurrent problem. You know, gas that is consumed on a daily basis, used for power generation, is supposed to translate into revenue to pay for the gas. We are not paying, and therefore once it is imposed for us to pay. What that really means is that somebody who is stealing power, enjoying all the air conditions, is being subvented by the one who is using fan and only keeping his light bulb on. Because the one paying, and not using the air conditions and keeping them on, is the one paying for the gas. Because you are paying 1 cedi on petroleum products, whether you have electricity or not. And that is the implication of the policy. The person in the village who doesn't even have electricity, but uses petrol on his motorbike to move to the city, is paying all the taxes that is subventing the one living in the city and stealing power. So we need to address those problems, those imbalances, and make sure that when you tax people, those you are taxing can benefit from it, except for social interventions. But it's not for the poor to subsidize the rich.
But the president in the recent address, told us that there's a plan to migrate fully from crude to gas. You think it's a good thing, long overdue, and would that have anything in terms of our cost of power generation because of how it should feed to the tariffs as well?
No, I think you should commission one of your junior journalists to research how many times they've heard that we are moving from crude oil to gas in the past 10 years.
You have access to the data.
Sadly, we still have some components of our power system using like crude oil. And the politicians will tell you that, we still have to manage it and use it. There is a levy on electricity to be paying some of the crude oil. And it's politically motivated. Some people are doing business in the light crude space, and they want us to keep buying the light crude oil so that they can keep their business, even though it costs more than 3 times the cost of gas. They are interested in keeping the light crude oil. Otherwise, today, it doesn't even make sense why we are using it. Nigeria is committed to giving us more gas. people don't want to sign up to it. We are not even paying for the gas that Nigeria is supplying, even though it's cheaper, and we are paying for crude oil. We are paying for crude oil. So these are the dynamics around politics, credibility of interventions, and making sure that decisions can be addressed and addressed quickly. There are upstream investors, ENI, and the rest who want to pump more gas. They need incentive to be able to do that. We are not as busy as engaging those to bring in more gas than paying for light crude oil because it benefits some people. The worst part, today, as we are paying international oil price about $100, $110 in some instances, government could be buying a barrel by maybe 130, 140, sometimes 150, because if you look at the trend, in most cases, the premium on our product is between 30 and 50%. For over 10 years, we have been talking about reviewing the petroleum law, and every investor is watching. What is that? What does that mean? And we have not been able to review it. And we are still talking about reviewing the law today. There's a committee sitting to review the law and all the meetings and all of it. Absolutely unnecessary meetings. And the investor is just watching what could be in that remodeled or new approach to investment in Ghana, when it's pretty straightforward. And government, in most cases, model the oil industry just on the direct fiscal benefits. But they forget that you probably will become the next PRO in the oil business, right? You're going to get salary. There are service companies that are going to be lined up to it. Multiply effect of that business. There are local businesses that are going to benefit from it. The agricultural sector is going to benefit because people are going to produce vegetables and sell to oil company workers. And so the multiplier effect are so vast that you don't just want to lock yourself into just the fiscal, the percentages of tax, the percentage of royalty, the percentage of, whatever. And most analysts even got so myopic, and we are always focused on direct fiscal benefit. And it's cascading into the mining sector as well, where we are now talking, the foreigners can go away, we'll give it to our own people and the rest of it. But it is so myopic that we ignore the multiplier effect of some of those investments.
Let's move to the power sector. What are your thoughts on this whole argument about to allow active private participation in the distribution of power? They also are saying that no, keep it in the hands of ECG, they can do the job.
There's no way anybody can convince me that government can manage ECG. No way. Since 2014, when we started talking about this to now, government direct cash intervention into ECG will be about $25 billion. Do you know what that can do to Ghana?
Are people not benefiting from those costs and those inefficiencies?
Those who are supposed to take the decisions are the ones benefiting from it. And that's why they don't want to do it. Government has shown that it's not capable of managing the institution. It's not that the individuals in there cannot do it. The individuals in there, if they are not held accountable, they are not taxed to deliver, they will not do it. And that's consistently been the case. I keep telling my friends in the politics that when you tell a technical person to cut corners for you for $1 million, they will cut $10 million for themselves. So don't do it. Make sure that people are responsive and responsible and they are held account. They open up, they go there for contract, and then the CEOs are also awarding multiples of that for themselves. When you come asking them, say, but we gave you one. You understand? And they're playing games with the institutions. And we need to deal with that. Hand it to the private sector. In America, there are taxes on power. Everywhere in the world, they tax power. We cannot tax power because it's already expensive. And if you go and tax it already, people will start crying because the tariff is already high. So where are you going to put your tax? We are rather paying for a lot of waste that we can actually deal with, create an ecosystem that can actually generate revenue. If we are even taxing the over $4 billion revenue, we're even taxing at 5%. Do you know how much revenue will come to the state? But we are rather pumping more money because we have decided not to deal with the inefficiencies in the sector, and we keep pumping money into it. Government should just take its hands off and give it to the private sector to manage it.
The workers are worried about their fate.
I have friends in there.
Examples.
I have a lot of friends. I have a lot
private sector intervention in the public space.
I have a lot of friends in
the
ECG.
Examples are not good enough.
I have a lot of friends in ECG all the way to the top, and I keep telling them all the time, ECG is not their company. It's a company for the Ghanaian people. And when we are taking a decision, they're not going to lose
the right to raise concerns about
nobody's going to lose their job.
Allowing private hands to come in, we're going to lose our jobs.
How are they going to lose their job?
Private sector looking for efficiency.
But the last time we attempted negotiation, we locked it in that they wouldn't sack people, and ECG is overstaffed. But we were able to negotiate that they will not sack people. They will keep people in, some will retire, and then we'll keep the numbers managed and keep it more robust and efficient. Perhaps, some of them could be shifted. Sometimes you can come to Accra and you have hundreds of people that can go to another region and perhaps do better and perform and make that region more optimal. They have to be recalibrated. And the private sector can deliver that value than just managing the kind of waste that we are seeing, and politicians keep padding that space. We cannot continue to pump billions every year into ECG when the revenues are there to be collected. And I must say that, as far as accounting for revenues is concerned, we've seen marked improvement with the current leadership, but it's not enough. We need to go out and collect more revenue. Make sure that we close the loophole. Gas has been consumed. It's been used. The gas, we are not paying for empty gas. The gas has been used for fuel, as fuel to generate the power. It must come out of that tariff. We must get the money from the same space and not use petroleum tax revenue to be paying for gas.
All of that thing being equal, the economists will say, August this year, Ghana is going to exit the IMF program. There are a lot of independent actors. There are those who've looked at the past events and they are worried about this. Energy economists and all the rest, but you still care about the larger economy as well. Are you also the school of those who are worried that what could be the fate of the economy and even the energy sector, look at the reforms that have taken place under the fund program, that you think that we should still be under a program? Akufo-Addo said the Ghanaian is capable of managing these affairs.
I saw the finance minister yesterday, and I was holding his jacket and I was telling him, don't exit the IMF program.
Why?
Don't exit the program because the vulnerabilities are there. The energy sector could spiral. It could go off track if we don't have the commitment to deal with the benchmarks in the IMF program. And where we sit, I don't think we are even 30% on the deliverables under the program, as far as the energy sector is concerned. Yeah. All right, some shifts have been made on the cash waterfall. We're now seeing visibility. We're seeing IPPs getting paid. After the negotiations that we did, we're seeing commitments to pay, which is a plus. As far as the inefficiencies are concerned, the concession arrangement and make sure that we can eliminate all the waste and improve revenue collection. We risk derailing the economy if the IMF is not in the space. All right, and of course, the broader vulnerabilities, the credibility of the country is still not at the point where we can say that we're on our own. We need to get the IMF going for at least another 2 to 3 years. And I'm hoping that even if it's not an ECF, a bouquet program that actually helps us, technical assistance program that keeps the fund around, will be really, really helpful. And I'm telling you, the whole political system is charged, waiting for the IMF to go so that they can be inefficient as possible.
It is true.
And you should see people who are salivating.
Who are waiting to do certain transactions.
All the reforms.
From those who are in the government, some will say that, and we hear stories about the minister insisting that because of the fund program, we can't do this. And they go like, let's wait for the program, then let's do this.
There will be too much pressure at the finance ministry in the next year if there's no IMF. The inefficiencies will be out of the roof. The reforms that have been initiated, the Fiscal Council and the rest of it, will be thrown to the dogs. We need a program. We need a program to consolidate, the initiatives that are already afoot, to keep us on a sustainable path. And get people used to those systems. Get people used to the discipline.
Mr. Boachi, two things. Are we not capable of managing our affairs, as what I'll say that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah has said? And two, also, it raises a lot of questions.
Who is your finance minister? It's not IMF.
But the argument that it raises another serious concerns about what has happened to all those structural reforms under the fund program that should have helped us post-exit of this program.
No, I think, you made a good point. We are capable. We have not been able to deal with few things that actually exhibit the capacity. And of course, it's a political economy issue. there are power brokers and there are optics, people who are leading them. You will see a minister at energy ministry, finance minister, agriculture minister, but there are people who are even more powerful than those people who are running the show, who need to be contained and managed in some of those instances. So we need the visibility that the program gives us for us to be able to track decisions as and when they happen, and be able to consolidate that kind of practice. If we're able to do that in the long term, the power brokers and everybody then get used to that kind of system. So the 3-year, 4-year thing, they're able to wait. They don't get used to it. And then everything comes back to their own way of doing things. So we need to get people used to a certain discipline way of doing things. The IMF, we are also part of the IMF. They are here. We meet them all the time here. It's not an extraterrestrial event that comes to Ghana. Sometimes when you hear IMF and you hear even the most educated, we don't need them, we don't need a fund, they come and they take. But it's an international body that we are part of. Ghanaians are working here. Ghanaians are directors in different countries, and we need that support from that community of practice and be able to sustain our economy. So let's not think about IMF as a foreign entity, but let's think about how we use the IMF to check our own behavior as an international community and be able to stay disciplined. And that's what we are calling for. It's not for the IMF to become finance minister. It's for the international central bank governor. They will mean the same.
And even the president.
Yes, but we need the entire international community to monitor how we behave and then practice, improve systems. Like here, I can go online and even check how much Pentagon is getting for the war in Iran. It's not difficult to get that money. Do you know the national security budget in Ghana?
No, I don't know.
You wouldn't know. You don't know all their sources. And even as I stand here, I know a few. You understand? So we need transparency in our governance, and it takes time to get all of that in place, and we need the fund to be around.
Ben Boachi is the executive director of the African Center for Energy Policy in Ghana. But within this discussion, we did this discussion at Washington, D.C., USA, on the sidelines of the spring meetings here in the IMF headquarters 2 building, where several actors around the world have gathered to brainstorm on the global economy, especially when it comes to developments in the Middle East and how that is affecting all these countries around the world. Well, in Ghana, it was also a talk about our energy security situation and how the rising prices of crude oil on the international market could impact us. You've heard him from someone who play in the space when it comes to energy, thoughts on how to get around this challenge. This is PM Express Business Edition, and we came to you live from the headquarters 2 building of the International Monetary Fund on the sidelines of the annual spring meetings here in Washington, D.C.
Turn your home and office design dreams into reality. Here at Lesh Fortune, interior design is our passion. Customized interior design solutions, top of the range products such as curtains and accessories, blinds and accessories, trendy for bespoke hotel, home and office furniture, top-notch space design services.
I'm the CEO of Builders Estates. When it comes to putting the final touch on all my building projects, I look no further than Lesh Fortune for all my interior decoration needs. They bring your ideas to life.
Turning your house into a home. It's more than just a service. You need beauty and elegance, and the expertise is very important. That's why I choose Lesh Fortune Limited, because they have experience.
Yes, indeed. With our many years of experience, we would excite you. So make that call now. Call us on 0244-265588 or 0302-811163. Lesh Fortune Limited.
Lesh Fortune Limited, unleashing luxury with perfection, one space at a time.
Lesh Fortune Limited. Another week is here on the greatest of all time show. My name is Giovanni Clip, and tonight we're bringing you talent. Contestant number 1, let's bring Baby Car. Let's bring. You did it for you.
Cut. Oh, there is a leakage.
Where's the plumber? For quality and durability, insist on Syntex pipes.
If you want quality, this be where you belong.
Strong, tough, and reliable. Your perfect match to your trusted Syntex pipe. Syntex pipe, it dey carry water, no wahala. Syntex pipe, it dey make water dey flow. Syntex, and you're strong, and you're tough.
Ghana's program with the IMF will be coming to an end. But there are indeed concerns from some development partners, investors, about whether government can still go ahead to maintain that fiscal stability, fiscal discipline during these times. Is the program built in place that requires structures that could help the country move on without the program's support? Or what just some have said that just like how at the 15th time when we signed up to this program, that commitment was given. The 16th time when we signed up to this program, that commitment was given that we can manage the economy well, but there was a 17th time program. Well, on PM Express Business Edition, coming to you from Washington, D.C. on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank spring meetings, I'll be engaging one economist who appreciates these issues, understands everything about the economy, whether he thinks that indeed we are building in place the right structures and measures to mitigate the shocks, or indeed we could come back again during the 18th time for an IMF program. Our guest on PM Business Edition coming to you from Washington, D.C. is Professor Peter Kote. He's an economist. And Prof, I'll say thank you so much, and it's great to connect with you here in Washington, D.C. How has it been for you in terms of your meetings that you've had here and all those things?
My pleasure. It's been great. It's been wonderful to be back. I spent quite some time with the IMF as a visiting scholar, and then I've been to the bank for some engagements in the past. So for me, it's good to connect, and also to attend the meetings. You get to know what people are thinking about post the war. I mean, what strategy, what plan B other countries are thinking about, and I think that we can also adapt some of the good things they're considering, as well as to network and see how we move forward. Yeah, so it's been exciting.
Before I even get to, and you've mentioned, or before I get to Ghana's program and all those things, you've spoken about the war. And one immediate thing which I just want to get your thoughts on, which is happening in Ghana right now, has to do with the government's plan to try and mitigate or take some measures to mitigate the pressure on consumers as a result of development in the Middle East. Now, from what we understand has happened right now in Ghana, there's been a review of the margins. Government didn't touch the taxes. What do you make of this action by government that they've just reviewed the margins up to 1 Ghana cedi and not touch the taxes, because some of the consumers were still pushing for more reduction? And based on this action, you've seen that diesel is going to go down by some 3%, I should say, and petrol will do about go up marginally by 1.98%, according to figures from the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. Let me first ask you, what do you make of government decision not to touch the taxes, but just do the margins?
I mean, in as much as I am also a consumer, and I would love to see.
Don't forget ourselves.
I would like to see lower prices at the pump. I think these taxes have been earmarked already. Government has budgeted with the taxes, and there are some critical expenditures that need to be incurred. So you need to strike a delicate balance, and I believe I agree with government that you touch the margins, at least to show some commitment, get some reduction to consumers. We also have to note that this is a war that nobody can predict the end. So in as much as you want to assist consumers, you cannot do everything today. You have to be gradual in the sense that as times progress, you will know whether to even do more, or perhaps the margins, you need to put them back. And So that's, for me, I think is the way to go. I mean, it's a gradual process, review over time and see whether you need to do more or you need to even take out what you are giving to consumers.
I mean, government is saying that this will be a temporary measure for 4 weeks. There are some who are saying that 4 weeks is not enough. I mean, if what the IMF, or even the IMF, have done 3 scenarios, the uncertainty is so much. 4 weeks for reviewing margins up to 1 Ghana cedi for consumers. Some are saying that is not enough.
I think so. I mean, if you could look at it, listen to the fiscal report that was discussed yesterday, the effects of this war will not go away in 4 weeks. The effects will go away per a year or 2. So 4 weeks for me is too short. Of course, there's a need for a review in 4 weeks, but it should not be taken away. When it's reviewed, maybe you maintain what is there or even do more. But I don't think we're going to see government scrapping these margins in 4 weeks. That would not be a prudent way to go.
Yeah, I mean, so you think that when the 4 weeks time is due, it should be still sustained by the suspension and not quickly move to restore it back?
It should be sustained and perhaps even either to do more or to just allow it to go for quite some time, because the effect is not a very short term. The lag is, it can take longer for the effects to dissipate, and therefore you can't just scrap this in 4 weeks. That is not acceptable, and that's globally, that's the discussion going on, that government should note that the effect of this war is not going to be within 6 months or 3 months or 4 weeks. It's going to take a bit longer, 2 years or even 3 years. And therefore, as you're cushioning your public, your citizens, you should bear that in mind and plan appropriately.
I mean, I wouldn't want to use the term as an excuse, but on the government side, is it justified? Is in a country that is saddled with debt, is in a country that is saddled with a lot of payment, you have workers, public sector workers pushing for a salary review. There's talk about, recruitment of teachers, public sector workers, nurses, the pressure in terms of the public wage bill. Is there any justification on the part of government to say that is why I cannot touch the taxes? That is why I even want these margins to be temporary in 4 weeks, because we don't want a situation where we have to go and borrow to even pay salaries.
Yes, all these things are happening. There's a lot of demands. I mean, as a developing country, there's so much demands on government to do more. But having said that, we also have to look at the people you want to make better. You want to make people's lives better. It's enshrined in the Constitution. So when there is a global situation, you cannot continue to say, I want to keep things as it is. Certainly, there should be some intervention. That's why, for me, touching the margins is good. So you are trying to strike a delicate balance. You're touching the margins, but you're also leaving the taxes. So you'll be able to maintain a delicate balance and be able to tackle some of the critical things, the investments, the capital expenditures, the roads, the recruitments, and all the other things. But let me say that we shouldn't always be fixated on expenditure, income, revenue. That every now and then we are looking at taxes, we are looking at revenue. What about expenditure controls? If we are able to ensure value for money, that for me would also be so. As we touch the margins, let's also see how we control some of the expenditures and get value for money. We've heard government saying government officials not enjoying free fuel and all the other things. That is fine, but we could perhaps do more in terms of even government vehicles. How are they used? How efficiently are we using them? Procurements. To what extent are we getting value for money? Auditor General's report comes every year with a lot of monies that government is losing. Are we pursuing this? How much have we retrieved? Are we pursuing this? So if we're able to get money from some of these corrupt practices, some of these leakages, I believe it will go a long way. Look at the billions of cedis that we are losing. If we even get 50% back, that would and much add that to the margins, I mean, we'll be better off. So let's not just focus on the margins. Let's also see how we can get some monies from the losses, the inefficient ways of doing things, so we get value for money.
There's another school of thought, and I remember I've engaged some people who said that if you go through the 2026 budget, government set a benchmark of $76 a barrel. We've seen oil prices inch above $100 a barrel. Government has made some windfall, and I stand to be educated, Prof. They are saying that, therefore, when some people look at these numbers, they think that there is still no justification for government to do more to cushion consumers.
Well, that's in the past. That's what has happened. These monies have been used to pay workers and engage in other kinds of expenditure. We are talking about the future, which is very uncertain. You see, so even if it's made a windfall, should he spend all the windfall today? The good thing is to look at the future as well. If you're going to spread the windfall over time, we all know our energy sector has a lot of challenges. Power fluctuations, obsolete equipment, and so on and so forth. So even if there's a windfall, could we use part of this windfall to renovate, refurbish this equipment so that we get constant flow of energy? Within the sub-region, we've seen countries queue for fuel. I mean, they queue for fuel. Countries queue for fuel already. They've started queuing for fuel. I have not seen that in Ghana. So I think in as much as government is doing what it should do, of course there is room for improvement, but we shouldn't also push too hard. Otherwise, it will come to bite us, in my view. So let's be gradual, look at the numbers, and if things improve, we demand from government our share. But if things deteriorate, then if there's any buffer, we fall on the buffers.
Prof, is the fears about inflation going up as a result of these challenges in the Middle East and the impact on the Ghanaian economy being overstretched? And you have been in the economic space for quite a long time. I saw or read some of these things in the textbooks and in the lecture halls, where inflation has dropped to as low as 3.2%. And the fears that inflation could be going up because of this. Are we stretching these fears too much because of what? And I'll come to the follow-up question where even the IMF and the World Bank in their projection for inflation this year, the maximum I'm seeing is about 8% and 7.9%. And yet, that is still a record number that we can say that that's not bad. But for you, the fears that because of these things, I mean, crude prices have gone up, fuel prices are going up, there's a fear that transport operators will push for an increase in fares. Are we too much exaggerating the issue about the impact of these developments, supply chain, fertilizer, food security issues, and the Tibetan inflation?
It's not overstretched. I think it's the reality. It's the stark reality that we have to confront ourselves with. What is happening globally, the war especially. Fuel prices are going up at the pumps. Nobody knows when this war is going to end. And it have a trickle-down effect on food prices, on people's livelihood, supply chain disruptions, and so on and so forth. So inflation will certainly inch up. But if we maintain the kind of prudent management, we maintain the kind of expenditure controls, if we do the needful, I'm sure we'll still be in the single-digit inflation range. After all, the Bank of Ghana's target is 8 plus or minus 2. So that is 6 to 10%. So if we fall within, we have achieved our target as a country.
What should
government be doing on the fiscal side? I mean, with all due respect, some will say that we can trust the Bank of Ghana. The framework and the regulations might make it difficult for them to do certain things. The unpredictability and the unknown is often the fiscal side. What should government be doing to send that signals to us that prudence in these times won't see things get out of hand?
There's one thing we need to do as a country, the coordination between the fiscal and the monetary. Oftentimes you see the fiscal going its own way, then the monetary, so there's lack of coordination between the two institutions. If this coordination continues, if the fiscal is, or the Ministry of Finance is spending or undertaking certain activities, the monetary can say, hey, this activity is going to impact on inflation, is going to impact on prices. So that coordination, and same way the monetary can do something that can affect the fiscal. So that kind of coordination is very critical. Secondly, on the fiscal side, I think there's something we're doing, the gift miss system, where all expenditures are expected to be done through the gift miss system. I mean, if you pick our budget statements from, let's say, within 10 years, gift miss is always mentioned, that we are going to ensure all ministries spend through the gift miss system. Every year, the same thing happens. So it's been like a rhetoric. In the past year or two, and even in previous past few years, we've seen an attempt to push towards ensuring that expenditure is done through the gift miss system. This Value for Money office, for instance, was set up in 2024, before 2024, except that we are not implementing what is supposed to, or applying what is supposed to do. So now I see that there's the need for expenditure control and seek clearance. So you seek clearance before you can spend. And that is really what is helping to control expenditures, because in the past, ministries, departments, agencies could just contract others to undertake work and commit government to it. Now, without that clearance, you cannot go ahead, and I can see that is working, except to make sure that that control system is not too rigid. Otherwise, we don't free the MMDs to also operate. If you pay salaries, but they are not given the needed resources to buy equipment to undertake certain activities, then we are not being prudent with our expenditure. So that expenditure control for me is very, very critical. Then on revenue mobilization, paperless system, we've come a long way, but I think using digital systems to ensure revenue mobilization is the way to go. We've started, but we need to deepen that process. I've heard of even the use of AI.
Which is a lot of
controversy around it. But if you can perfect that system, the better. Because the under-invoicing and all that, it's become a problem, and it's something that has been happening for decades. So if there is a system through technology to minimize that and raise more revenue through the ports and other agencies, that for me is the way to go. If we do this, certainly we'll be able to keep expenditure under control to minimize this inflationary effects.
Do you buy the proponents or the school of thought who are saying that BOD should start ramping up policy rate because you don't want things to get out of hand before you respond?
Well, the policy rate, you see, you have to be very cautious in whatever you do with the rates. The policy rate, although affects lending rates, it's very sticky downwards. So if you are very quick to reduce policy rates, it might not translate speedily into lending rates and the other rates. Secondly, the problem is not just with interest rates, and I keep emphasizing this all the time. The default rate. I mean, if you drive down interest rates so low, but default rate is around 19, 18, 19, 20%. If I take depositors' money, 100 cedis, and 20 cedis or 20% of that money will be defaulted. If I'm lending that money, you don't expect me to lend below 18%. You get my point? So the default rate is something that the Bank of Ghana, the courts, legal system, all of us will have to address. Otherwise, banks cannot be profitable, they will run at losses, and we have to bail out banks if we drive down interest rates and then expect them to lend to a market that is very, very risky. It cannot happen. So let's work on the default rate. It's too high as a country, and we need to drill down into what is causing this high default rate. It's not just, the economy has been relatively stable. Things are much better now. Businesses are picking up, flourishing. So it's not about the economy. Something certainly is not going right. People are defaulting. Why are they defaulting? How do we help? In other jurisdictions, we have credit reference agencies. We have one in Ghana. But I understand the banks are not supplying them with the data.
Because they are protecting their privilege.
Their privilege tracks. Because I could borrow.
They don't want to give away someone like Professor Peter Kote because he's very credit-worthy.
No, I won't borrow. That's it. So I'm not the one they want to deal with. They want those who borrow big, But you see, people borrow from different banks and default. They get away with it. But if our credit preference system is working, then we'll be able to flag those people, see why they default, and address the fundamental problem. It's just that when you give that information, the fear is that another bank will go and buy that customer's debt at a lower rate. They are in competition, and it happens. If you have two banks, if I deal with two banks, I can go and I borrow from one bank. I can go to the other bank and say, I have this loan at this rate. Can you give me a lower rate, buy back the loan? And it's happening in the banks. So the banks are now unwilling to trade information about their customers in order not to lose sector. And that is also now helping in reducing the default rate.
I mean, do you think that this development would, in terms of the Middle East rising fuel prices, could test the claim, even though the numbers are saying it, about the resilience of our economy, or again it will send us back down the road?
Well, it's testing our resilience. I think the good thing is that we have some buffers. But how long would those buffers take us? If this war should persist for long, we might see some gradual rollback of what gains we have made. But I cannot rule that out that yes, there's been some gains, there's been some buffers that is helping us, but certainly it's testing our ability to respond to shocks. And this is one clear case of a shock. I can also say that the bitter lessons of the past is also going to influence the way we do things. That is, if we learn from our mistakes. Because every election year, we throw every good thing away and start a new process. But the bitter lessons of the past should help us think that post-IMF, how are we going to behave? Are we going to learn from the tenets of the IMF program and behave in the same way?
IMF is even now doing a scenario. If I also want to do our own here, if the transport operators do not heed the plea by government and they go ahead to increase transport fares, what could be the impact on inflation? Already, producer price index for last has gone up marginally. Are we going to see some huge spike in inflation going forward?
Inflation will certainly, if they don't heed to the plea, inflation will certainly go up, but not by a huge margin.
Look at the cascading impact
because
supply chains and all those things.
Yeah, because you look at the food basket, the inflation basket, what's the proportion of transport, the weight of transport. Transport accounts for 10, 15, 16% of that, So the cascading effect will not be as huge as one would have, we are anticipating. If it's food, then it could affect food prices and also hurt inflation, but it's not going to be as huge as the fear. I mean that kind of fear that it will send to the market. One thing we should bear in mind that transit operators are also businessmen. They're operating a business, and therefore we should also allow them some leeway. I mean, if it gets to a point where they have to increase prices, allow them, but just it should be some marginal increase. And also, it should be structured, because sometimes you find prices vary, so very inconsiderate, everybody doing what he or she wants. I think the discussion should also be that if there's going to be an increase, it should be uniform and not too extreme. I mean, some moderate increase, so that we can all bear the costs and the benefits.
Probably, I'll be getting your thoughts about the fears that some people have that after August it will be free for all. This is PM Express Business Edition, engaging economist Professor Peter Kote here live from Washington, D.C. on the sidelines of the annual spring meetings in Washington, D.C., where you're looking at first the recent spike in crude oil prices, the government action to cushion consumers, the spike in petroleum prices. We have seen that all other things being equal, today prices are supposed to start going up marginally. What will be the impact on the general economy? And also looking at the fact that fiscal discipline post-IMF exit from August this year. Are we in for another 18th program with the fund? Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition, coming to you from Washington, D.C., USA, where the annual IMF World Bank Spring Meeting is going on. As they look at the global economy, the issue in the Middle East, and how that could affect several economies around the world. But for us in Ghana, we're also looking at the fact that come August this year, we're going to exit the IMF program. And what could be the impact on Ghana's economy going forward? I'm engaging a renowned economist, Professor Peter Kote, here in Washington, D.C., United States of America. Prof, everyone I've engaged, very independent persons, are worried about after August. There are some who say that, we have a program, the strategies are in place. George, don't worry, everything will be okay. Putting on your economist hat and putting on from somebody who have seen all these periods, FinSap 2, IMF program, and all the rest. Deep within your heart, are you worried that after August, we could be facing some real challenges when it comes to fiscal discipline?
George, I'm equally worried. We don't have to play ostriches. We look at the future, we predict the future based on past happenings. If for 17 times, if for the past how many years, we have behaved in a certain way, we have a certain behavior pattern, if I'm going to predict the way we're going to behave, that's going to inform me. So based on how we have behaved, I am also worried. I'm slightly comforted by the fact that the bitter lessons of what we went through in the past few years is too fresh. So I believe as rational beings, as citizens of Kwame Nkrumah's country, that we educated, well-meaning people, we will learn from our past and self-correct. So when IMF exits, all the good things we learned from this program, we're going to apply them. We will not renege, but apply them strictly, so that we don't go back to those bitter days or lessons that were taught the hard way. I believe strongly that should guide whatever we do. Let's look at some of the leakages. I mean, you find Auditor General's report when they are presented at Public Accounts Committee. Look at how much money going down the drain that is being wasted. Anytime there's a regime change, we always say it's the politicians who are, corrupt and whatever. But these are technocrats, civil servants. And these are not small monies, huge sums of money. But what worries me is that we don't seem to pursue, after the hearing and whatever. How many have we prosecuted? How much have we retrieved? This information is something that we should be reporting in our annual budget statements to assure us that we are learning from our mistakes, we are correcting the wrong. Otherwise, if we continue the way we are going, I will be worried, or I am worried about post-IMF exit. The IMF also provides some technical support, even when you are not on a program. That's because we are member.
And I'm hearing that the government is exploring that option in terms of
exactly.
investor. You think that could be a good thing for us to do?
Certainly, it's a good thing. I mean, it's something that we qualify for. So they should continually engage. And the point is whether what they advise, we're going to take them on board and implement. That's another conversation. But it doesn't mean we are leaving IMF completely. We are a member of the fund. So we need to look at some of these things and work towards them. We have done we have implemented the program and we are seeing the benefits. So obviously, as rational beings, why throw it away and go totally at variance with what the program tenets are? I think it's so early. The benefits are so fresh. We are witnessing them. Ghanaians are enjoying some relative stability. So let's not throw this away. And that, for me, gives me some little bit of assurance and hope that post-IMF, we are going to do things better.
But Prof, then, for those of you that are even exposed to all the data, and you've done modelings and papers on all these things, if you guys are worried, then doesn't it also raise a lot of questions about the so-called structural reforms that this program has done for the economy? Because then it raises a lot of questions that if we are worried about the future, then it raises questions about those structural reforms that were undertaken under this program.
The structural reforms, we haven't fully implemented them, like making sure every expenditure goes to, let's say, the gift me system. We are doing that at the moment, but whether we are going to get 100%, I'm not sure we have reached that stage. Especially close to election years, we know what to do, but people just flout the laws or with impunity. So yes, there are reforms. There are reforms to wither corruption. There are reforms to ensure that revenue leakages are minimized. But we have not, these reforms take time. It's not a 1 year thing, a one-off thing. It takes quite some time to really see this reform. We said we're going to reform VAT system. We are still in the process. We haven't seen a document showing how we've reduced VAT, but a clear roadmap that this is an actual reform of the VAT system. How many years now into the IMF program we are exiting? That reforms hasn't been completed. So yes, there have been some reforms, or started some reform, but we have not come to the end yet to evaluate our performance based on those reforms. And I think we need to continue those reforms and ensure that even when the IMF is not there, the institutions are working. The difference between us and the advanced countries is that the institutions work. Some of the things we see, some political cronies and all, they happen. They happen in even in advanced countries. Things go on. But the institutions work. They will make sure that when it comes to implementation, they hold you strictly to what the law is saying. In our case, we don't respect what is set out in the law. We don't allow the institutions to work. So let us go back and work and ensure that our institutions are working. The courts are working. That if there is an issue, there is a corruption issue or a default rate, or and a bank takes it to court, it's be done expeditiously. Other than that, if we maintain the current systems where people default in taxes, they don't pay and they get away with it, people abuse expenditure controls and they get away with it, then when the IMF leaves, we'll be back to where we started.
Is it about the political will, Prof? Because some will say that, and again, I stand to be corrected, that every law that should enhance fiscal prudent expenditure, Financial Management Administration Act, you have the Fiscal Council, all those things are in place. But at the end of the day, we still end up having budget overruns. When there's a new administration in place, then we get to see the real numbers. When someone is in, everything is good. Is it the political will that is the challenge here, and not the regulations, and not the fund program? Because some are saying that we know it when we know that we cannot afford subsidies, but we are pushing subsidies. Somebody has to pay for it. We know that we have to push efficiency. We know that when we are not raising the required revenue, we don't spend. These are basic 101 financial management principles that if you are managing your company, you will not do it. So some are saying that, where's the problem coming from?
The problem is both ways. One is from the leadership, the political will, but also it's a demand-driven thing. As voters, what do we demand of our leaders? Most often people demand or request to see short-term basic needs satisfied. So we put pressure on government to do certain short-termism, populist things. Things that we know that is not helping us, they need to be reformed. Free SHS. I support free SHS, but not in its current form. Certain parts of the free needs to be reformed. But there are those who want free uniform, free sandals, free whatever, sanitary pads. So for those ones, if you don't supply, they won't vote for you. So my point about the kind of things we demand for our politicians. So they know what is good for the country. But if I need to maintain my votes, then, well, what the people want is what you give them. So this kind of dichotomy is what is fueling the problem we are currently facing. Come election year, in some countries, 6 months to elections, you cannot cut stock, you cannot award new contracts. But for us, a day before the election,
that is when we see.
That's where we see what is happening, because that's what the people want. You want their votes, and this current the 2028 elections, we are going to see some kind of uneasy tension as well, because I see a president who wants to leave a legacy for his country, for himself as well. Then, so he will try and ensure that some of the things we want to do are done, that he leaves with a good name. But there are also party people, MPs, etc., who also want to win elections. So would you leave with a claim? You want a legacy, they also have their own objective function. If we don't marry these two carefully, we'll be back to where we live. Because the pressure will come from the electorates, from the parties, from the MPs, and then we'll end up throwing away all the structures that the IMF program has taught us. So as a country, we need to have this discussion. I think we need to talk, we need to conscientize ourselves as citizens that it's our future we are talking about. And therefore, some of the demands, we have to be realistic, reasonable, and the politicians should also ensure that they manage our resources efficiently. If we do that going forward, I am sure we would overcome some of these challenges.
Often we are always quick to blame the politicians, but what about academia, society groups as well? What will be your contribution to ensure that there is fiscal discipline after the program exit? Because we have not even spoken about election year spending. This is just about discipline. The academia, prof, civil society groups as well. Maybe the charge is on you guys now.
Always in the news, we always having programs, etc., where we think certain government policies or actions are not going right. We highlight them. It's our job to bring it out to the public, but then it's also the mandate of government or the people that matter when we bring such things out to engage us, to also ensure that whatever, if there's some element of truth or there's some justification for it, they self-correct quickly. There are reports, there are things that we churn out, but sometimes they are not implemented. You find donors, you find external institutions consulting academia, consulting researchers more in Ghana than you find government consulting its people. I mean, sometimes it blows my mind. We need to make use of our technocrats. We need to make use of our academia. We need to make use of our researchers. If you don't invest in research, there's no way you're going to make any headway. That's because of how much have we budgeted for research, innovation? Very little. So we are not expecting any great innovation if that is how we are going to operate. So yes, you are right. Civil society, academia, we need to up our game. We'll continue to up our game. And we shouldn't be divided on political lines. I see, even within academia, people going in different directions. And, academia checks government. Guys, they need it. They need such advice. So, yes, come December 2028, we'll all go and vote. But let's be professional. Where there is a need to advise, let us advise appropriately.
Let me look at the bit about also the external investors as well. What do we need to do to also give the market needed assurance that even when we exit this program, we will still do those prudent things?
Well, it's not an issue of saying it. It has to be reflected in your actions. I mean, external investors, they look at the data. So one, we've just spoken about, still continue to seek technical advice from the IMF. Two, the reforms that we have started. If we carry them out and they see clearly that, yes, you are reforming your systems to ensure value for money, to ensure prudence and accountability, it will give them that confidence. Investors will look at your macroeconomic fundamentals. If your debt GDP is going up, it's a signal that you are risky. If they see high inflation, it's risky. If you are growing, your GDP is growing, then you see that, look, there's a market. This is an economy when if I lend to them, if I invest, people will buy. If I lend to them, because their income is growing, they will pay. They will struggle to pay. So it is in our actions and the evidence we show to investors that will attract them to come to Ghana.
Prof, I appreciate your time so much and having time. And I know your schedules have been quite tough, but you had time to join us on PM Express that came to us live from Washington. I appreciate your time so much. This has been PM Express Business Edition that came to you live from Washington, D.C., where we engaged several experts on the economy. You watched the first part of the program where you heard Bemboachi speaking on the energy issues and what has happened in the global economy, pump prices going up and all the rest. You also heard from economist Professor Peter Kote as you look at the energy economy bit and also maintaining fiscal discipline post-exit the IMF program in August. This has been PM Express Business Edition coming to you from Washington, D.C., USA, where the annual IMF meetings is going on here, where several things have been spoken about here. The bit about how development in the Middle East and how it's affecting a lot of economies around the world. My name is George Wiafe, and from Washington, D.C., I say have a great day.
Our gold is more than a resource, it's our pride. And at Gold Ball Jewelry, we celebrate that pride every day with craftsmanship that reflects who we are as Ghanaians. Introducing the Gold Ball Jewelry Gold Tablet, pure, certified, proudly Ghanaian gold. The best part, when you buy a Gold Ball Jewelry tablet, you own it. You keep your gold with you, not with us. It's more than a jewelry. It's a smart investment for every Ghanaian who wants to secure their future. Gold Ball Jewelry Gold Tablet. Own your gold. Own your future.
Can tee up someone in red. And it goes to one.
That's who goes for. What 5 champions league? You want to know? I be the real goat, Chairman. What's the real goat? The left magician.
Who is the goat? Ghana Jollof or Nigerian Jollof?
Ghana Jollof has no co-equal. The smell alone. Oh my God.
No, that shift. You two they lie. Now the same stew when they use cook the rice and then they go put them for top.
Hey. You are lying. Ghana Jollof.
Are you busy? Forget everybody. Yeah. My guy. Put some respect on the goat. On the goat. The only goat I know lives in Tama. Every year we dey give to you back. We are talking about BET. I want some Agyeman-Rawlings. Except be the goat. Huh? My guy, him be the goat.
Though our choice of goats may differ in football, music, and jollof, Alomobitus always brings us together. Alomo, experience greatness in every moment.
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18 and recommended to pregnant women. This advert is FDA approved.
You guys are ready for what's about to happen? Only on Joy Prime Television.
All right.
Listen.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, my name is MC Akufo-Addo. I'll show my sister the guy squid, giving the rappers the platform to show their flow. They go blow. Beats and bars with the hardest thing. You get past spit up the baddest thing. This with the mic, make me see the fire. No darling, cause we know the tire.
Listen, Mike and I are ready. What's a rapper? So now you will rap. Beats and bars. You get bars, challenge.
Yo.
This is not just rap.
This is not just lyrics. This is war on the mic. Yes, you're welcome to Beats and Bars, the ultimate community rap show, live on Joy Prime Television. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we bring rappers from your community to show us what they've got.
Two communities, two fearless MCs. I'm the guy, Queen Sister Standard. Hey, guy, and I'm doing this with my brother.
Yeah, you know when the queen is on, the king is on. My name is MC Akufo-Addo, the only MC with a sauce to spice it all up. And ladies and gentlemen, Beats and Bars, we say, you get bars, spit up. All right.
Rounds, freestyle, rep your community and brag. You know what I'm saying?
You heard that. You have just 3 rounds to prove yourself as a rapper. Every other Saturday, live on Joy Prime Television. Make sure you sit down, 8 p.m. Join us with some cool drink and enjoy the party, man. Your pong is smelling good. Beats and Bars.
You got bars,
spit down.